All right, here we go. It's a brand new Flyers Daily for the 24th of December, 2024. Flyers Daily, as always, presented by Ticketmaster. Make more memories live. Christmas Eve edition of Flyers Daily as the Flyers go down last night by a final score of 7-3 against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Coming up in just a couple moments, Flyers president of hockey operations, Keith Jones, will feature a conversation that I had with Jonesy on Saturday about a whole litany of topics, including the arc of the rebuild, his thoughts on this season, some specific players, and much more. But let's talk about last night real quick. Flyers lost to the Penguins. Flyers just giving up flat out in the month of December. Too many goals. Way too many goals. And it's a combination of two things. It's that the goaltending hasn't been great and the team defensive structure hasn't been great. You combine those two things, you get goal totals of 7 and give up some of these goal totals that we've seen this month. And over this break, they need for Christmas, frankly, some defensive zone structure. They got to kind of do what they did in the beginning of the year and start fixing things from the crease out. Don't worry about the offensive part. That'll come if you're defending less. But right now, they just are not defending well at all. Bad decisions, redundant in coverage, busted coverages, chasing plays, taking penalties because they're not moving their feet. It's a total combo platter. And right now they got to fix that or they're going nowhere. Now they were able to fix it earlier this season, but it's regressed once again. So they got to get that back. First period last night, just not good enough. You give up a goal, minute 29 in, Brian Rust scores his 15th, puts the Penguins up 1-0. Flyers get it tied, get it from an unlikely source in Yegor Zamula. He picks up his second of the season, but then you give up 3 more goals. In the first, you're down 4-1. And again, you're chasing a game. Flyers have been good in these situations, battling back, but you can't keep chasing games with multi-goal deficits. You will not, there's not a team in the league that will survive doing that. You can do it maybe once in a while, and it's a gut check, and you didn't quit. Good for you. But you got to stop digging the hole so darn deep. And they do it here, down 4-1 after one period of play. Go into the second, they battle back. They get a goal from Noah Cates, who scored a goal in his 4th straight game, which is a career high. His game's been good. He's been a positive. Brink and York with the assist. It's 4-2 game. Then Sean Couturier. Frankly, the goal that Tristan Jarry gave up on Couturier was horrible. It's a horrible goal to give up. Give Couturier credit for dropping the shoulder and going hard to the net and getting the backhand there. But I don't even think he was shooting to score. I think he was shooting low for the rebound. But he'll take it. Flyers get within 1. But then at 18:48, quick transition play by the Penguins, and the Flyers are redundant on the left side, and they end up leaving Michael Bunting to go right in on Sam Ersson and beat him with just over a minute left in the period. Now you're back down by 2. And when you have to keep coming back, you run out of gas. And in the third period, they look like they ran out of gas. And the Penguins run it up. And it's a final. When Crosby gets the empty net goal, 6-3. And then Blake Lizotte on the power play with the goaltender back in makes it 7-3. And it's just right now, I have no clue where this season's going. There's 2 things I know about this team. Number one is that the video, off-ice video guys that determine the challenge, Vigneault and Adam Patterson, do a great job. They are consistent. They have been great all season long. And this team will battle back when they're down goals. But you can't keep doing this. I don't know where this is going. But this trip that they're coming back into, I know Anaheim's not very good and San Jose not very good. But frankly, traveling out there on Friday to start a back-to-back with 2 West Coast teams on Saturday and Sunday is not easy. This is not a gimme couple of games to start. Nothing's a gimme for this team. And then you have to go from there after San Jose on New Year's Eve. So you have to go Anaheim, Los Angeles, San Jose, and then you got to go to Vegas on the 2nd. And then you got to work your way back east for a home and home with Toronto. This is a pivotal stretch coming up. We'll talk more about that in subsequent episodes. But right now, I mean, Penguins don't look like a team that was reeling earlier this season. They look really good. Was that a product of the Flyers making them look good? No, I thought they looked good legitimately. They've looked good of late. The Flyers have not looked good of late. And you can't keep living by the get down multiple goals and battle our way back mantra, you're not going to succeed. All right, let's talk about everything this season, off season, trade deadline, where the Flyers are in this rebuild with the Flyers president of hockey operations. I had a chance to sit down with Jonesy on Saturday, and here's that conversation. It is a brand new pre-Christmas edition of Flyers Daily, brought to you by Ticketmaster, Make More Memories Live. Special episode, because I'm great to sit down with the president of hockey operations, my former coworker, Keith Jones. Jonesy, how are you?
You've come a long way, Jay.
You've come a long way.
I'm doing well, buddy, and I know you're going through a little battle yourself, and we're all thinking of you. It's good to see you, buddy.
My gloves have already hit the ice, brother.
I know they have.
You got to get them all first. How important is the first punch?
It matters. It matters.
Because you can punch and run?
Yeah, exactly. And then wait for help to get there.
And wait for Chief to come in and clean up the mess that you created.
No doubt.
Let me ask you how it's been just adjusting. You're a year and a half into the job now, and you come from a broadcasting background where you came from a playing background. What's that adjustment been like over the time?
It's similar to playing because everything stays with you. In a broadcasting part, game ends, on to the next one, and you're not really emotionally attached to it unless you happen to say something stupid and you're worried about it. But in this type of business where winning matters so much, it's definitely something that you have to get used to, being in a situation where you carry things with you on a basically 24 hours whenever you're awake.
Yeah.
And that's probably the biggest difference between my broadcasting career and then, doing this is very similar to playing, where you're affected in everything that you do based upon wins and losses.
But you like having that skin in the game, because that's something you kind of craved, didn't it?
Yeah, it's the one thing you miss, right? When you're done playing, that's probably the biggest thing, with the exception of your teammates and, all the fun stuff you had with being part of a group trying to accomplish great things. That part's great to be back in the mix of that. I think we have a really good, solid team, but also the group that I work with away from the guys that are playing on the ice is pretty awesome too. Yeah. So that part's exciting, with Dan Hilferty leading the way, and then Danny and I have been good friends before, but are building a really good relationship now too.
And kind of you guys, as you build that takes time to build too. It's kind of like a line mate, knowing where they're going to be on the ice, knowing you guys are in sync when it comes to what you guys need to do off the ice.
Yeah, I think there's benefits to being a part of a team prior, and playing in the National Hockey League, just how you rely on everybody and you recognize that it's never a one-person job. Yeah. I think it's good to, have others that you rely on and others that rely on you. And I think some of the things I learned as a player really helped me in this job.
Well, just like in a locker room with players, sometimes you'll have disagreements with teammates. And as you guys, you don't always have to agree on a player, a decision you're making, and those things, sometimes iron sharpens iron, and that's not a bad thing either.
I would agree with
opinions,
that.
Right?
Yeah, you want to look at things, from different angles, and life experiences give us different approaches to the way that we handle things. I think that's all positive, and I think eventually it's going to pay dividends for us as we, continue to try to turn the corner here and get this team headed to a situation where we're battling for Stanley Cups and playing really important games again.
This season it's been a strange one for me, trying to put a finger on a number of different elements of the team, because you got off to a rough start, then you had, we're moving in the right direction, then it's another kind of rough patch, but this is kind of that murky middle. This is what comes with it. And, to be sustainable, you got to be one of those top 6 teams, but you guys got work to do to get there.
We do, and what we're, obviously been pretty clear about is we want to watch and continue to see our younger players grow. They're playing in big roles, and there's always going to be some ups and downs in that regard as they build the foundation that's going to carry them forward. So it's been fun from that aspect to watch and see. And obviously there's bumps, but we recognize that. We know there's going to be them. The ultimate goal is not going to change. Some of the timeline things, we watch closely and make sure that guys are continuing where we project them to get to. And sometimes they're going to take one step back before taking 2 steps forward. So I think the expectations that we have are kind of, we're watching unfold, but there's never going to be a night that we don't expect our team to come out and, compete and, do their best to win that game. So
that's non-negotiable.
No, it's not. And you never want to teach a team, that it's okay not to win the game. So
That sticks around for a long
it
time if you
does.
do accept that.
Yeah, it does. That can turn things ugly in a hurry. So
Yeah.
I think we've got the right approach in that regard, and I'm happy with how things have gone so far, but look forward to greater things in the future.
Something I say quite often is that development for an NHL player is not linear. It's not just going to tick up in
No.
those ways. So with your answer to that just prior, some people will say, well, playing some of those young guys, and Emil Andre gets sent down. Explain to people kind of the thinking about with Emil. I know you don't want to overwhelm players, and because that's not benefit. This is an unforgiving league.
We had a great peek at what Emil is capable of doing.
Yeah,
that's a short look. I mean, the first 10 games I played in the National Hockey League, I had 9 points.
Yeah.
So I started thinking this league's pretty
I'm
easy.
a point per game guy in this league.
I went like 17 in a row without getting one.
Yeah.
So, the game can be tough, but there is great signs that Emil is going to have a very good National Hockey League career. So we're really excited about that.
Mm-hmm.
He's really angry to go down, which is awesome, which is what you want. And, there's a lot of positive signs that he's going to be exactly what we expect him to be. So it's going to be fun to watch him grow as a player.
Do you worry about if he's up here and part of your long-term future, and Cam York, who's not small but not big, and do you worry about that lack of size when you do become a perennial playoff team?
Playoff teams,
generally big back there.
They can be. There's no question about that. The ones that have gone on long playoff runs, it's certainly helpful, and you need depth at that position too. Colorado's probably the one exception to that, but when you have Makar back there, I mean,
he's a lot of exception to a lot of things.
Yeah, but they had Sam Girard, they had Byram, they had some guys that were in that 6 foot range and under, and they were still very obviously capable of winning. I think most teams are looking for size though, so that's something that we definitely monitor and keep an eye on.
Yeah, no doubt. I did ask some people on social media for some questions. I want to go back to your radio days and go to the telephone lines, if you will.
Yeah, sure.
Nick Hankins had messages in and said, management, including you, I said the players will dictate the rebuild and the timeline. With Michkov now here in the last 12 months, and him getting over here early, has that altered the plan in any way?
No, it doesn't speed it up, but it's great to have him here.
Yeah. So it's all bonus.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And to recognize that, the Michkov that we're watching now as a just turned 20-year-old is going to be a lot different in 5 years when we're watching him.
Yeah.
You want him to, continue to blossom, which he will, and you want to surround him with, players that continue to advance in their careers as well. And there'll be other additions along the way. So no, we're excited, obviously, that he's here. We love how much our fan base appreciates the things that he brings and also recognizes the things that he brings. It's pretty cool.
Are you surprised by anything with him?
He's
a stone cold killer in big situations.
Yeah. I'm not surprised. I'm really happy.
Yeah.
I mean, those are the things that we saw and expected to happen. Knowing, again, like any other player, there's going to be ups and downs too, but there's something real special about his mind and the way he sees things and the way he kind of manipulates situations offensively that, things that the great players do. So I really believe that he's going to continue to develop his game at the National Hockey League level, but has proven already that he's got star power, attitude, work ethic, all the things that you want in a player that's driving to be great.
You played with and against some guys that were of that ilk, and he is special. One of the things that a lot of people have asked is, how are you going to get that center to play with him? And then, do you want a guy like a Barkov, or do you need more of like an Andrei Kopitar type? What do you look for there?
The top centers all are unique in the way that they go about doing their things. If you just name off the top 12 or 13 in the game, they're special and they're hard to find. So we're going to do everything we can to find that type of guy. There's lots of ways to do it. You can do it through the draft. Sometimes you're going to do it through free agency. We're not in that position right now, but we will be always looking to be in that type of position down the road. And, having money available is something that's really important to us in the next couple of years. But that will happen organically, but we're always looking. There's no doubt. Sometimes through trade as well.
Yeah.
And we're monitoring and we watch and see where players are headed on different organizations and at different levels of the sport.
And where those organizations, because other organizations are going, because that presents maybe an opportunity. Do you anticipate as we kind of come out of the pandemic era with a cap now that's going to rise normally and all of those things, that the hockey trade may become more prevalent, or offer sheets, or some path to obtaining that? Because we saw St. Louis do it last year, Doug Armstrong.
I think teams are going to do whatever they can to make sure that they stay in it and continue. The parity is remarkable, as we see every night. There's no games that you can go into thinking that the other team's going to lay down, you're going to win, no matter who it is. Even teams like Nashville are starting to play better now that struggled at the start of the year. That's what's going to happen this year. So that's, I think, the future of where the game is headed. But we want to make sure that when more money's available, that we're a destination that players want to be. And that was always the case for the Flyers. I think it's important that we treat our players properly, that word spreads throughout the National Hockey League. That's just a great place to be, that guys love it here, that their families love being here. And I think those type of things give you an advantage, almost, like you're recruiting for a top collegiate football team. All those things matter. So
showing the weight room,
just everything matters. And luckily we have the resources to do that, to make sure that we are putting a lot into making sure that everything is here for our players when they arrive.
I think it's an important thing that you bring up, because the players play the game in where we are now, Wells Fargo Center. That's 2 hours and 45 minutes, 82 or 41 times a year. The practice facility, they're there far more often than anywhere else. Those things are important to them. Farah Beezer tweeted it and said, how is the team balancing not hurting the locker room with taking the necessary steps in the rebuild? Is there criteria that the team follows in terms of projecting the future of how the lineup will shake out? Towards when he came, said that locker room's got to be fixed. And by my view, I'm not in there. You're in there a lot more than me. It seems pretty fixed.
It's that part's not a concern.
No,
there's no doubt. And Torts deserves a lot of credit for that, because he is, a mastermind of, building teams that have respect for one another. And some of that has to do with the consistency which he coaches with. No matter who the player is, he's going to hold everybody accountable. And he is balanced in that regard, which I think players over time appreciate. You don't want to be that guy that's, hearing it,
but you're susceptible.
But it's going to happen. And I think it's really important, especially for younger players, to kind of develop in that type of system. I think they're going to really benefit down the road from that as well. So, that part's great. And then the players, every night they step on the ice afternoon, they have an opportunity to make sure that they're part of the future. I mean, if I was a player, that's how I would look at it.
Put it on tape.
Give me a reason. Give us a reason to make sure that you're part of it. And 5 years from now, when we're, battling, or 3 years or 2, whatever the timeline is, just make sure that you're a part of it. And that's the attitude and the type of players that we want to continue to build around.
I know that one of the things that happens with Philadelphia sports fans, you spend so many years on the radio, there's a shiny toy available, whatever it is, whether it was David Yurchek earlier this year, or, people were tweeting me saying you guys should have signed Jacob Trouba or traded for him, which I thought was absurd, all things considered. But people want to make trades because they just want to be in the action sometimes. How do you guys approach this deadline, which is, I know you said on Kiprios and Bourne's podcast that, we're going to be sellers, but you don't really have those kind of expiring deals like you did with Sean Walker last year. So how do you attack it?
In a very similar fashion. We want to make sure that we continue to keep an eye on the future, and that's what we're going to do. So our players, the ones that are playing right now, have every opportunity to convince us otherwise. And I always want our players to recognize that they will be rewarded for playing well and getting results. It is a results-based business, but when the deadline arrives, we're still not there.
You're not in buy mode.
No, we're not in buy mode. We weren't in buy mode this summer. We don't have money to be in buy mode. So there's a blueprint out there. It's clear, but we want to make sure that we stick to it and don't get caught, in a moment of thinking, well, let's just go for it.
Yeah.
It's just, it's not the way that it's going to, be in
You
our
want to take a couple
minds,
steps
has to be the
backward?
right deal. The right deal might fall in place.
Yeah.
You never know when that happens, but we'll be ready to pounce when it does.
Yeah. That's the thing. I think you guys have been really consistent in that message. Yet people say, well, why aren't they? Michkov came over. Why didn't they get him a center? Well, the timeline hasn't changed.
Yeah. Well, you got to be careful. Like you don't necessarily want to sign the best available centerman.
Mhm.
You want to sign the best centerman.
Yeah.
There's a big
There's
difference.
a big difference.
Yeah.
See, I had to think about my gears aren't working like normal right now, but yeah.
You get a lot in your mind.
The
but
available sometimes is not the best.
correct.
And you're
the
looking
best
ranging
available
out.
you end up being with for a long time.
Yeah. That's who you marry.
Correct. But you want the best.
Yeah.
You don't want the best available. So
Yeah. I know.
there's a big difference.
Yeah, there is.
And
No
if
question.
that best available, and when you have money to spend is there, you have to make the right decision and not pay for that best available. You
Jones,
need the best.
In today's NHL, 32 teams, cap, parity, all of that, you better make sure that guy's the right guy, because it's unforgiving if you make a mistake. Maybe even more so now.
Well, yeah, we've seen that, right?
Yeah, you see teams just pay
There's
the price.
many things that you can look at with a whole bunch of different teams, and you get it. Sometimes it's dependent upon where the mindset of management, and if they feel like they're up against it, and they're going to try to prolong their stay in a particular city, you may make the wrong decision. We'll never approach it that way.
Yeah,
like that's a fact. So
what do you want to see over the remainder of the year?
Continued growth. We want to see our younger players continue to build off some of the foundation that they started, whether it was last season or now starting to come back this season, and the way that they're playing. It's all important. It all matters.
Yeah.
And, then they're, another year older next year with more experience, but you don't want it to level off. You want it to continue to progress. And, when your guys that are 26, 27, 28 really start to hit their stride, you want it to come together and, try to do great things.
What do you got planned for the holidays?
A little bit of time down in Florida. Got the new grandson down there,
Yeah.
little Nikita.
So you on ice yet?
Not yet. He's only 5 months old, but
what are you waiting for?
We'll get him on there quick, no doubt.
Well, hope he doesn't get your knees.
Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be good.
Have a great holiday.
You
Thanks
too,
for doing
buddy.
this.
Good luck with everything.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jay.
Always great to catch up with Keith Jones. Known Jonesy for, I think, 25 years now. Worked with him for many years in radio, and then obviously with the team as well on the broadcast side. And now as the big head honcho, as the president of hockey operations. So we thank him for his time now that he's a big dog. I appreciate everybody listening, everybody watching. Have a great Christmas, a safe holiday. Enjoy your families, friends, whatever you may do, whatever you do, celebrate. And we will talk to you on the day after Christmas. We're going to take off Christmas Day, get a little R&R in, but we'll talk to you coming up on Thursday. So join us then on a brand new Flyers Daily. Merry Christmas, everybody.